same thing with Taika Waititi. Like, people have done it; it can be done, but it is very impressive, especially when it is when it's pulled off as well as it was pulled off in this movie, as well as like other like big directors. Like with mine being an amateur, I felt like it made elements suffer, which is why I'm kind of more in the mindset of wanting to just like focus on one thing.
Yeah, and that's why I'm impressed with this, because I really don't think it suffered. Like, if anything, again, I was impressed by the lead actor. When I was done watching the movie, I wanted to look up who this guy was and if he'd been in anything else, and that just led me to finding out that he directed it. So I don't think the final product suffered.
No, I don't think it suffered at all. I'm saying he pulled it off incredibly. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I just think the way that you can just tell the way he is as a director that he's great with kids in his performance, but also you can tell that as a director he is probably that way too, because we'll get into performance in a second, but the way that it is that he's able to get all these deep performances out of like 8-year-olds is astounding.
And I didn't even think about it, but you're exactly right. That was one thing that stood out to me, especially in the scenes where he was in the special needs school, and it had just a bunch of like a montage of him, working there, and they were putting on a little show there, and just like the way he was working with those special needs kids. Yeah, I was really kind of taken back, because I was thinking like, wait, man, this actor is really either really performing and making me believe in it, or he's really just like working well with these kids. And you're spot on. I didn't put that together, but that makes a lot of sense why he was able to pull the performance out of the lead. Did we catch his name? But
Darshil Safari.
Yeah, Darshil Safari. But like, it makes complete sense that he was able to, because he probably works incredibly well with kids. I didn't think about that, but you're right on. I mean, I think really we've made reference enough. You guys want to move on to performance?
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's do it. I thought, first off, let's address kind of the elephant in the room as far as what I was going to bring up. So much of the performance in this movie it leans into melodrama. And I think from what I've seen, because I this is my first full Bollywood watch also. This is my first full feature of a Bollywood movie. But from the clips I've seen, because I've seen several clips from Bollywood productions, that kind of seems like a typical thing. They seem a little more melodramatically acted. Mm-hmm. Typically, I don't prefer melodrama. Mm-hmm. I think if you go for something, Nick Cage, expressionist-y, it has potential to be really cool and really stylistic. I think it's a fine line you ride when you act melodramatically, that it comes across as corny. Yeah. For me,
it can lean into like parody.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And so that's why for this movie I was shocked, because there are several moments that are melodramatic.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. It worked the whole time for me.
And this was his directorial debut too.
Interesting.
Which that kind of adds another layer to that.
Yeah, he's directed like I think 2 films.
Huh.
Oh, so did he not keep that up? Because this was back, 2007?
He hasn't done anything since like 2009, I don't think. He hasn't done anything for a while.
Do you guys know how this performed critically? Like, did it do well internationally? Do you know?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I wouldn't be shocked. No, I want to know, Braden, what did the melodrama stand out to you when you were watching it? Was that something that was...
It wasn't something that brought attention to itself, I don't think, ever. Like, now that you're talking about it, I can see what you're saying, but I don't think I was ever distracted by the performances ever.
No, I think that's the thing that shocked me, is I was aware that there was melodrama going on, but never did it even pull me out.
Well, yeah, for me, though, I didn't feel like the melodrama in most of the parts came through the performances.
Really?
Which sometimes I feel like it does. Like, the performance, they'll be, like, hamming it up to make it very dramatic. I thought they acted very naturally, and it was usually the music that came in that added the real deep melodramatic layer to what was going on. But the performances were really great. Like, I kept writing down stuff about how well Darshil was acting, like, because he had to have been like what, 8 or 9 maybe. He looks very young in that movie.
Yeah, I think I looked it up. He was like 8.
Yeah, he killed it from beginning to like the first scene. Whenever you see him sitting there looking at the fish in the pond, like it was just beautiful.
It's always to me impressive when a child actor can not only deliver a solid performance, because I mean, as the three of us are aware, that's impressive enough on its own when somebody can really perform.
I have an experience working with a child actor. Whenever I was directing, whenever I was directing Goner, the little girl who played Grace, it was supposed to be the main character Dylan's like little cousin. That was actually JJ's the lead actor's little sister. So that helped a lot in getting a performance out of her, is because we had to remind her that she's just, I don't want to say just acting, because she was not an actor, but we had to keep reminding her, this is where you should stand. And she kept doing things kind of robotically. And then one thing that kind of just allowed her to sink into, like, you saw the moment, right, in the kitchen where Dylan's kind of saying his final goodbye to her. The way that we got her to the place where she got was JJ basically got up in her face and started like crying in like during the take, and she was so taken aback by that. And that reaction from her is actually her real reaction to seeing her brother cry. So yeah, but either way, I think it's the way that he was able to get performances out of. I don't know if like, I'm sure that all the kids in this movie, or most of the lead kids in this movie, were professional actors, but it just tells you so much about how he is as a director and the way he is able to get such raw performances and emotion out of, especially Darshil Safari. And I don't know what it was, but I was feeling sorry for him the entire time. And it was just a look on his face.
Yeah.
There was just a look on his face that I was like, "What? Why am I so captivated by this 8-year-old kid?"
This was also Darshil Safari's first. From what I'm pretty sure I read that this was his first performance. Like this was his.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am impressed.
Yeah, he does television acting now, but this is the first time he had been in anything.
No, I'm with you. So it's interesting because Amir Khan's character doesn't really come in, who I think is the second lead. He doesn't come in until an hour and 15 minutes in the movie. So like that's halfway through the movie. So the first half really is, what's the lead character's name?
Ishan.
So it's really just that first hour and 15 is you are just living with Ishan. That's the whole point of that first hour 15. And I agree with you. It reminded me, and this is always, to me, one of the biggest praises I can give to a movie, is when I feel it doesn't feel like a movie. Like, I remember like watching 8th grade, like Bo Burnham, 8th grade. Like, I felt like I was like watching somebody's life happen.
It's like a documentary almost.
Yeah. And for this, I'm with you. Like, I felt so sorry for him because the situation came across as so real. Like, it felt like you were watching, and we'll talk about this in writing, we made reference to it already. Like, you're just watching this kid with this home life that just is not, it's not good. So, it's interesting because we talk about melodrama. I don't feel like the writing was ever melodramatic. Like the situational writing felt so earnest and real and genuine, and so it sucked me in. And yes, I felt so sympathetic to Ishan, not to Darshil. I just felt sympathetic for the character, which to me,
part of it, like huge. You guys are saying, he must have. Amir probably does have some like past with working with children, because some of it, one of the things that stuck out to me,
he has to.
Some of it, whenever I was watching it, it kind of jumped out at me because like I worked back when I was like 18 and 19 years old. I worked at a daycare, And some of the ways that Ishan would behave, I knew kids exactly like that. And it made me feel bad because being, I was 18 and didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of like looking after children. I would think the stuff that the teachers would think, and I'll just be like, this kid is just a little jerk. He does not care. He is not making any effort to care. Like, I know he can do the work. He just won't do the work or whatever, whatever would be going on. Yeah. It was weird. It hit weirdly close to home because... Wow. Like the kids that you would get onto, and then they would be like happy about the fact that they got in trouble, and you'd just be like, "What is? I don't understand why they're." Because they would act happy in front of other kids, and then once they'd be alone, you could tell that they were actually upset. And I never really understood what was going on there. And I'm sure it was just I was an 18-year-old trying to take care of layered children, and I didn't understand in any way what I was doing.
Yeah, no, I am interested in his background. I don't know if that's public record. It's always that thing when you watch something like this. This may be the public record where you see something in a movie where either the writer or director has to have some, again, as three people who write scripts, there's an autobiographical aspect of screenwriting, and so it makes you wonder how much experience is. Maybe it's his own kids. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he had children at this point, but maybe it's his own kids. I don't know. We were talking before we recorded. Like, maybe I don't know if he had dyslexia. I don't know.
I kind of wonder if he actually works at that facility that the character, or not if he actually works there, but if he has some kind of connection with working with disadvantaged kids, because that part, I felt like it came in naturally, but it also seemed a little inserted into he also works at this facility. Yeah. And he's constant. It just seemed like it was stuck in there, but it didn't ruin anything.
No.
It was
I thought it was a really nice touch putting that in there because I think it really shows for the character. It really shows that he's not in it just because he has a job as a teacher and that he has to teach art. Like, he genuinely cares about children. I think that inserting that in there drives that home.
Built his character.
I agree. I definitely think it helps realize his character. Just going back to how real it felt. These characters feel, performance-wise, plays into it a ton. They feel real. Like, I wanted to shout out the mother.
Yes, I was about to.
She did so good, and I don't know about you guys, but I felt for her because she says it outright, but it's just like you feel for her because she's so conflicted. She's trying. You can tell she's trying. Like, where the father is has his flaws, she's really actively trying, and it's just nothing's working. And I think her performance was stellar, and those scenes of her watching the tapes, heartbreaking.
Yeah, because the father is so ready to write Ishan off as just being unmotivated and dumb. And then the mother, I think, is the only one before Amir Khan comes in, is really the only one who is trying to make an attempt to understand him, but she can't. And I think that the relationship that's built up between the mom and Ishan in the first whole act of the movie really paid off whenever she had to drop him off at the boarding school.
Oh, that song they played while they were driving away was incredible.
Yes.
I was getting goosebumps watching that scene.
Let's because I'm sure we're about to dive deep into the writing. Let's talk about before we move to that, unless you guys had anything acting performance wise.
I was going to add in there. Here, go. What were you going to say, Braden?
I was going to say I thought the guy who played the father was very, very good, and for some reason he looks familiar. I don't know why.
I don't know what that's from.
I kind of do too.
Yeah. And I looked him up, and he's only in Bollywood movies.
Interesting.
He just has one of those faces, I guess. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
I don't really think there was a weak. I don't know. Some of the side characters, the teachers, I thought came across a little.
The teachers were like caricatures of teachers.
Yes, agreed.
Almost, which I think was the intention. But that was the only thing that some scenes I was just like, when the teacher was painting and started singing opera or whatever he was singing, I didn't really understand. It was an interesting move. But on the performances, I was going to talk about, or I'd just bring up real quick that we were talking about the mom being the only one to make an attempt to understand him. I thought there was a beautiful kind of side story element because they were very subtle about it. But his brother didn't understand him at all, but really accepted him. Yes. Like his brother never looked down at him for how he acted.